really, when you're setting your goals for next year, your goals should force you to step out of your comfort zone. Your
Mm-hmm.
goals should be aligned with your passions and priorities and your purpose. Your goals should be venturing under your own power.
Welcome to Purposeful Podcasting. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Crystal. This podcast is meant to share how we and other entrepreneurs bring together purpose and passion to leverage profit in our businesses.
We are shining a light on adventure-loving, purpose-driven, action-minded, authentic, and rebellious entrepreneurs.
Just like us.
So join us as we talk about business and life and everything in between.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of Purposeful Podcasting. My name is Crystal, and I am here with my partner and soul sister, Wendy.
Hello. And we're dancing. You just can't see us
We're
dancing.
dancing because we were like, we're transitioning.
The new year.
New year. It's the new year, and just getting our head on straight, which serves perfectly into today's topic, which is, what are we looking forward to most in 2024? What goals are we setting? And I think the biggest, reason for this podcast is to kind of give you insight into our thought process behind all of this. Because if you are new with us, or if you're a seasoned listener, you know that we're here to help women savor their lives. And so when we think about goal setting for 2024, and when we think about what it is we're looking forward to and what it is that lights our fire, what's that purpose behind the goals and what it is that we're doing. And that's really what we're here to talk about today. So Wendy, why don't you start us off?
Since this was actually, I guess, my idea.
Bazinga.
So exactly. The interesting thing is I struggled at the end of 2023. 2023, had its good parts, but overall, I think for many of us, it's been, the perpetual continual shit show to some extent. Normally I sit down and I have all those checklists and worksheets and all the stuff that just sort of like bringing 2023, encapsulating it or bringing it into a nutshell or whatever. And I just had the worst freaking time doing that. And I think it caused like a block for me about looking ahead at 2024. Cause I always think and I hate the word should, but you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And I just couldn't do it. Just didn't have it in me. And I decided I wasn't going to fight it and torture myself. And interestingly, I was rowing and the coach said something that just sort of exploded kind of everything and has now sort of pushed me into 2024. And she said, "Thank you for showing up for you." And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I did everything I could to show up for myself, others. And was it perfect? Hell no. But life isn't perfect. Life is messy. And even when I'm working to savor my life, it gets messy. And I was really kind of excited because that really made me realize that I want to take that. I want to continue to show up as I fly into the new year with flair for drama or something. I'm also really excited. So I'll tell your story a little bit that Crystal's husband bought her a new planner for 2024. And she in turn told me, "Hey, I got you one of them." And the cool thing is, and I sort of grapple with what tools do I use to get me through the year? Well, what was interesting is I think it's called Purpose Planner.
Purpose Planner. We'll link it in the show notes too, guys.
Yeah. So I was able to print off kind of the opening piece of it. And the first thing that jumped out was how I translate it is, we talk about the hats that we wear. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's what they're asking me. What roles do you play?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, oh, this is perfect.
I did. You had
And
the same reaction I did, which was
yes.
so great. I was like, oh my gosh, we talk about this.
And oh my, and it fits and I understand it. And what was really interesting is I started to think, so these are my hats. And I looked at my hats and I said, do they still apply? And I'm at the season in my life where there's definitely change, but there's not as much. The kids are
No.
getting, the kids are getting a little older. They don't need me in the same way. I have less of a mom role and more of a chauffeur, stuff like that. So anyway, I was like really excited to be able to put that into how I see 2024. And then I started looking at, my circle of life and noticed that some of the things that I had said I was going to work on last year, I'm still going to work on next year.
Yeah. See, the great thing is you can just move it to the next column.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
so great.
Yes, exactly. And the one thing when I went back and I kept thinking is I'm showing up and I'm definitely I'm showing up and I'm thankful for that. And somehow that's eliminated any kind of weird, like usually I feel guilty. Why did I do this? Why am I so, the usual, let's beat myself up with a healthy flogger before the coming new year. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we also had this conversation recently about, words, because everyone's like, what's your word? What's your word? And I got to tell you, I don't remember my word from last year, from 2023. I have no freaking clue what my word was. It was something,
We came up with
but
that on your mastermind, and I can't remember.
yeah, right.
I only
Can't,
remember mine. I can't remember yours.
well, I can't remember mine because it usually goes in one ear and out the other in like 2 seconds, which means why am I going through an exercise that I'm not going to remember unless I put it in a big piece of paper and tape it to my wall, which I'm not inclined to. Or maybe I should do like the Ted Lasso thing and tape something above the door. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not. So, but the thing is, I realize that with the goal of like, my goal this year is to really lean into how am I savoring my life and all the components of it. So it's the components of like savor, but it's also the components of my circle of life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot, there's a lot of living here. You know what I mean?
Well, and what I hear when you say that, there's like a lot of intentionality there. And when you
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about living a life by design and not by default, which,
Yes.
by definition is a lot of the reason why we end up in the entrepreneurial space. And it's why we're online business owners. And it's why we do what we do because we want that control over doing it. But I think what is so amazing about you and what you model so well for me, even is that intentional living and doing life by design because
I'm sorry.
sorry
It's my fault.
she made a face at me and now
I
I
showed,
can't stop laughing.
I'm sorry. I'm like chewing on the inside of my mouth and I have like now
We're like
created like a cold, I
the
have a cold sore. I've now
the
created a cold
the
sore
canker sore.
that I just thought was really, yeah. It's
This
like all of a sudden I'm chewing and I'm like, oh,
oh
look at my cold sore.
like cracking up. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm so
So
sorry.
one of the things that I think you do a really great job of modeling for me and what you are just really good at in general is really being intentional about your time and
Mm,
building in things for yourself. And I think that as online business owners and women especially, we make these grand statements of I become an online business owner because I want a life by design. We still end up living this life by default because we let our schedules be dictated by external forces all
mm-hmm.
around us all the time because we're trying to show up for all the people and
Mm-hmm.
do all of the things. And then in the online business world, we are constantly bombarded and flooded with things that you should be doing, or this next
Right.
hot and heavy thing, or this next launch course, or this next course, or this next thing, and you should do that.
Mm-hmm.
And now AI has come into the mix, and we need to learn all about that. And so we spend so much of our time trying to stay caught up with all of that that we're not living that intentional life that we intended to. And I think that is the whole point of the Savour model is, and how we coach our clients is that we really encourage everybody to kind of take that step back. And Wendy referenced the planner that I got and then I got for her. And it was really being intentional about the roles that you play, the hats that you wear. And if you've not listened to
Mm-hmm.
the episode, guys, we will link that in the show notes as well. I really encourage you to go back and listen to that, because so much of when you're setting your goals for 2024, and when I set my goals for 2024, or when I really think about what it is that I want, I really am thinking about, okay, what are the roles that I'm playing? What are the hats that I'm wearing? And are my
Mm-hmm.
goals in service to that, or is it in contradiction to? One question I got asked on a group call, maybe it was like 3 weeks ago, if I can believe it, it's already been 3 weeks, was like, what's your biggest reflection of this year that you want to take into next year? And I said, it's really asking yourself the question, are you creating a business that is in service to the life you want to live? And are you creating a business that is in service to savoring your life? And because having been on the side of it this year, where I really can say, yes, I am. Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I have ended previous years answering that question with a resounding, oh, no, no, I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that really
Mm-hmm.
informs my decision making and the goals I set for myself and the goals that we will set together in 2024 for Serendipitous Rebel.
Yes. Yes. I guess I can't agree more.
I mean, you could.
Well, I could. Yes, that's true. It's really interesting, and again, I just have had this reflection block, which is really interesting. And I think maybe for me, really the thing is, and I don't think in the past, yes, actually, let me take that back. I think it is the showing up and doing what I need to do in order to have the life I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that is what I take back. And thinking about it, if I were to say that a number of years ago, would the answer have been, oh, yeah, I'm definitely showing up and doing what I need? And I think no, because I think there are times where I have allowed myself to be on almost autopilot,
Mm-hmm.
which may serve certain elements of my life. And I think sometimes moms need to be on autopilot when they're
Yeah.
dealing with their kids and their marriage and all sorts of other things. And I think the beauty of actually leaning in to savoring your life is having components in there that allow you to be on autopilot where
Mm-hmm.
you need to be. Because if I think about it, I don't show up for things that like editing this podcast because
No.
we have taken time to do our values and our strengths, and certain things I just, they're not my strengths. I love the fact that we can lean into those sorts of things as well
Mm-hmm.
and be able to incorporate and know where you just hire a fantastic person who
Mm-hmm.
can do these things as opposed to incredibly struggling, and therefore zapping your energy and the life out
Mm-hmm.
of you kind of thing. And I do think that one of the things looking forward is we do have terrific systems in place thanks to, and it's thanks to you. I have to say it's completely thanks to you. We have incredible systems in place that allow us to show up where we need to when we need to, and things continue to function. And I can't actually stress that enough for other people as well. And even in the beginning, or even when you're in, is still in that whole, you have to take action, and part of the action is knowing what you need to do yourself, what either AI or just what do we have, like Funnel Gorgeous and all these different things just happen. They don't just happen, but they do happen because they're set up that way. I think that's been a huge thing, I think this year especially.
Well, yeah, especially because, this year for me personally, there was just so many things going on behind the scenes that we need
Mm-hmm.
to have things functionally in place on autopilot for lead capture to there had to be sales funnels in place for calendar and scheduling and things for our clients that took the pressure off of me. And I'm just going to speak for
Mm-hmm.
myself, but it took the pressure off of me to have to show up in certain areas of the business because it was already done. So it's kind of one of
Yeah.
those things where if you can set up your foundations right the first time,
Yep.
then it's done. And it just helps again with all of the things. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it's that intentionality of really kind of showing up very and very deliberately in our business
Mm-hmm.
that allows us to make decisions not based on emotion necessarily or on ideation, because you and I ideate kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but when it
Yes.
comes to the execution of the ideas, we're very mechanical in such a way as far as asking ourselves, do I have the bandwidth? Do we have the runway? Do we have the ability to do this and do it well? And
Mm-hmm.
then what does that look like? And it's a matter of, if we're going to launch a thing, backwards planning accordingly, factoring in all of those things, then making sure that the right systems and things are in place to make those things successful. And I think that's why this year went really as well as it did. And it did. It went, if you asked me, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it went really, really well. And so I'd like to take, I'm just going to like speak for us now. I think we both want to take more of that into 2024 in our goals and things like that, but like really add a richness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like taking what worked really, really well and just making it better, which is always
Yeah.
super fun.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I completely agree. I think that we continue to play to our strengths,
Yeah.
which I think is super important. Also, it's interesting because I think about, and we could also link, I think we did a Circle of Life episode as well,
Wheel of
which is
Life.
the background, I think we did the Circle of Life.
Did we?
Wheel of Life. I'm sorry, Wheel of Life. What am I
Wheel of
saying?
Life.
Circle. So Wheel of Life. And it's interesting because, whether the wheel has 8 pieces of pie or 10, nonetheless, it's like I've been trying to look at that through Savour. And
Hmm.
it's really interesting. And, when I think about, like my career and Serendipitous Rebel, it's very interesting. I will say that I absolutely love what I do. It feeds my love of learning. It feeds my of belonging. It feeds elements that I need as much as I need to like breathe. But there's a but here. If we were to tweak it and do something slightly different, I'd be okay with that. I think what I'm trying to say is that what I do absolutely love, but it fits into my lifestyle. And it's not, what I'm trying to say is that my career is not my lifestyle. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
And I find it to be really interesting. And one of my goals this year is when it comes to my career, is to try to step out of my comfort zone more. And I'm not sure what that looks like. And that's okay
Mhm.
because I don't plan 12 months out. It has never worked for me. Again, it becomes one of those things where, why couldn't I do this? And why can't I remember? So I'm very much a 90 days girl where and the beauty of being an online entrepreneur, I think, is that you have the ability to pivot and be purposeful and all those great things.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so, I really want to focus on, stepping out of my comfort zone. And it's interesting. I have this image where it's flowing water. It's a
Mhm.
river and it's moving you think of it as moving pretty fast within the boundaries of the banks on either side. And then there are rocks placed in, and it turns out this image had 6 rocks. So I got really excited. And I put little buckets on top. I spent a lot of time in Canva. I admit it. I'm a little junky.
Shocked.
And
Yes.
it's very visual for me. And I realized, actually, I just realized right now, that is actually my vision board.
Yeah.
That is actually my vision board for the year. I don't have to come up with anything else. It's this. And then each bucket has an element of savor in it. And I also realized that I sat down and thought, which ones challenge me more?
Mm-hmm.
I know that I've heard like a lot of people say like venturing under their own power is very challenging. And I'm like, and whether you look at it as, and we have these conversations, whether it's physical movement or it's taking action, either way, well, it's like that doesn't scare me nearly as much as stepping out of my comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think that, again, like a lot of women say, I just don't have time for self-care. That's not me.
No, but it is me, so I can understand that. But yeah,
Right. Well, we have to work on that. Seriously.
well, interestingly enough, it's the biggest thing, my biggest goal of 2024, and I guess we can just get right into these.
Uh-huh.
I think about things that I already have scheduled. You and I are meeting up
Mm-hmm.
in January. I'm going to run
Soon, very soon.
very soon. I'm going to run a 10K with your daughter
And my husband.
and your husband,
I'm cheerleading.
and Wendy's going to cheerlead us. That is stepping out of my comfort zone because I've not prepped the way I would have liked to have prepped. But this trip is unwinding with self-care and a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
ritualizing gratitude and celebration for me
Mm-hmm.
because it was like, yes, I'm going to go do this to kind of celebrate making it through the year that
Mm-hmm.
I've had. And then when I come back a few days later, my daughter's going to turn 6, which I cannot believe.
Wow.
My youngest is going to turn 6. We've got a little birthday party for her. And then the next day, because her birthday is the day before our wedding anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And the very next day on our anniversary, we're going to hop on a plane and go to Banff, Canada. And in that trip, I have massages booked and I have things which, so that right there is unwinding with self-care, ritualizing celebration and gratitude and all of that as well. These things tend to be the thing that I put on the back burner
Mm.
most. Venturing under my own power. I feel like I take a lot of action, not as much in the physical movement, but that is a big goal for mine in the next year as
Mm-hmm.
well. But stepping out of my comfort zone is not as difficult for me. Connecting and keeping myself open to connections, I feel like I do really, really well. Aligning with my passion and purposes feels very second nature. It's the other two that tend to go on the back burner for me. And those are the ones that I'd like to even out
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. When I think about the goals that I've set for this year and things that I really want to intentionally build into not just serendipitous rebel, but as into my own life as well, it is more time for self-care. We've realigned the way we do our coaching methods. The way we've done our coaching program is completely new. And we really did that and set that container up with the intention of being able to have more time to help us save our life, not just for ourselves, but for our clients as well.
Yes, yes, very much so. Our journeys are very fluid, and rigidity is like the exact opposite of what a lot of times we need. And what we're doing, it may not be for everyone, but and what I'm trying to say is what we've switched to is more of a high touch one-on-one. Well, it's always been one-on-one or two-on-one,
Hmm.
but very high touch in much shorter spurts. So
Yeah.
if you have it's like you have a question, you ask it, you get the answer, you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You ask it, get it, and that sort of thing, which because we were both realizing that there's something fairly artificial about a set time and place and everything. Like set time is 12 o'clock on Thursdays, unless it falls on a holiday or something like that.
Hmm.
And it was just, there's a rigidity that isn't necessarily always the best and most helpful way to help us, ourselves and
Yeah.
also primarily our clients. So I think it's really interesting how it's more, it's actually more high touch and
Yeah.
more interaction, a lot more, yet in like these bite-sized little pieces.
Yeah. And I think it gives us more pivotability. Did I just say
Hmm.
a word? No, I didn't. That's
Yeah.
actually a word. But I think it gives you, the client, more ability to pivot. And then
Hmm.
there's just not that lingering oh, I got to wait till the next time we're on a call to
Well,
figure this out, or I got to wait until the next moment.
yeah.
And when we think about like savor, I think so much of savor too is forward momentum.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's
Oh,
all
well.
of, when you
Mm.
talk about venturing under your own power, it means you need to take action and really forward. It's the forward momentum.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, the basis of venturing under your own power was daily walks with my dog.
Yeah.
And I mean, every single day for I can't even remember how long, he and I were out for, oh, now he's staring at me like, why don't you still do that? And I need to do that again. Anyway, I digress. But it's that it's creating those micro habits,
Hmm.
creating those micro habits. And it's very, very hard to do that once a week, just once a week,
Yep.
or once every 2 weeks. And the ability to create those habits and have whether it's accountability or reinforcement or whatever is I mean, honestly, one of the biggest really earth-shaking moments in 2023 was really knowing that when I say I have ADHD, I'm not really joking.
No.
And it's how, and really, how can I adapt the world
Hmm.
to me without really suffering? And I can say that micro habits for me are like critical pieces that and that's one of the things that I want to do in 2024 is create more of them
Yeah.
that will help me. Again, it's almost like you become, like exercise for me is autopilot at this particular. I don't really have to, there's no stresses about me getting up and going. I never expected in my life, but whatever, I'm running with it. And I want to be able to create that in more
Hmm.
places. And one thing that popped into my mind is, when you were talking about like ritualizing gratitude and celebrations, one of the things that I'm going to suggest to you that I am very driven, and we've talked about this, and actually, this is your month. You know what's coming. This is
Hmm.
January, is your month,
It is.
is leaning into temporal landmarks. And one of the things I know this new planner will allow me actually to do is, what are those magical dates? And, we can create our own Hallmark holidays, whether it's, for me, whether it's honoring the law, the anniversary of someone's passing, or certain people's birthdays, or, it's like, I love celebrating Mark Twain's birthday. Just thought I'd put it out there. It allows me to go back and read his things and his quotes and just, anyway.
Okay. I was like, I have so many questions, but okay, I'm following a little bit. All right.
But it's also adding some fun, and one of the things that I really had thought about when I was on the cruise with Craig is, where does fun fit into all of this? And I realized fun it really has to weave into all the elements.
Yeah. And I think when you think about like fun, or when you think about, we are serendipitous rebel, which is like finding
Mhm.
joy without looking for it, but with like a rebel twist, right? Like under your own power and doing it your way, not the way everybody else tells us we should be finding joy.
Mhm.
You're not supposed to find joy in the sanctity of what I anyway. But it really is about creating more joy in your life. And that's not to say that we're supposed to be joyful all the time, because I think that's a
No.
ridiculous goal unto itself. But I do
Yes.
think there are intentional moments that we can create in our life that do bring us joy, because they bring us a lot of peace. And I think that when you accomplish certain goals in your year, like running a 10K, for example, and I'm dressing up as Joy, by the way, from Inside Out for my 10K.
Oh, I love it.
But but if you can weave in certain things that when you accomplish the goal, when Wendy rose a gajillion miles this year, or what is your next big milestone marker for rowing?
I will hit 6 million meters in March.
There you go. So when she hit 6
Yeah.
million meters, when I run that 10K, there is this sense of accomplishment that you can
Mm-hmm.
feel that no one can really take away from you. That is confidence building. We run endurance challenges throughout the year. The next one will start January 8th for Sarah.
Make it happen.
It's the we're calling it the Make It Happen Challenge. And it's really about 21 days of venture under your own power.
Mm-hmm.
It's 21 days of moving, which is unwinding with self-care. It's 21 days of prioritizing you and your hat, really,
Mm-hmm.
and creating that micro habit that kind of propels you and gives you the resilience that you need to get through other things. And so when I think about like, our mission and then what are we doing in Serendipitous Rebel in support of that mission, it is endurance challenges. It is
Mm-hmm.
bringing on more coaching clients with this new model of coaching to help them keep forward momentum. It's to create more masterminding experiences, which this is going to be the year we finally get to do it because Crystal's life is not going to be as much of a shit show behind the scenes. Hosting more masterminding experiences and masterminding adventures that allow people to step out of their comfort zone and open themselves up to connection and venture in your own power. We weave all the elements of Savor into our masterminding. And so, it's the things like that that are getting me really excited for the next year.
Yes. And I am equally as excited. The thing that just popped into my head, and that's always a scary thing when that happens, that a lot of people look at endurance and just the very nature of it as being really about not a positive thing. I mean, you have to
Intimidating.
endure. And I know by definition it means that you are, making it through something that is less than pleasant. I just hope that our messaging and what we talk about is that it doesn't have to be, you're not really endurance is having the physical stamina. Maybe it's using the word endurance and never endure, but having the stamina, the grit, having those micro habits in place that really allow you to keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And, I get excited when I hear about an endurance challenge because there's like a finish line or there's a milestone that you reach and you can move on to the next one or move on to something different. But whatever it is, I don't necessarily think about it as being as terrible a thing as many people do, because we do need it. We do need it.
Well, and I think that one of the cool thing about Endure to me is that there is a cross of the finish line. And with that comes the celebration and the relief
Mm-hmm.
and the accomplishment and the confidence
Mm-hmm.
building comes with it. But I agree, Endure it's an intimidating word sometimes. But I do think and I think that's why we tell people like it's not just enough to endure the journey of entrepreneurship. We want you to savor it. And so you
Mm-hmm.
learn to savor it through all of these different elements. And in setting goals, really when you're setting your goals for next year, your goals should force you to step out of your comfort zone. Your
Mm-hmm.
goals should be aligned with your passions and priorities and your purpose. Your goals should be venturing under your own power. Like if you're not taking
Mm-hmm.
action on your goals, then they are not going to be accomplished.
No, then they just remain ideas.
It's true. Your goals should open yourself up to community and connection because none of us is an island. And though some of us be solopreneurs, it's really not a fun journey if we're not connecting with other people. And frankly, you just probably won't do it as well. Just
Mm-hmm.
say it.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just going to say it. And then, if you're not unwinding with self-care, you're going to burn out. And if you're not celebrating the wins or the progress you've made along the way, then what the hell are you doing the goal for?
Oh, I love that. My goals for next year,
Mhm.
besides hitting 6 million, and then if actually for the next 90 days, my goals will be, yes, I'm going to reach my next rowing milestone, 6 million meters. I also really want to lean in more for me to be open to connection and reconnection. It's interesting that I think is an ongoing thing for me. And it's funny though, because the last 2 weeks of December, it probably doubled my connection, my interaction with people who I've been meaning to do all year round
Mhm.
or all year long. So I definitely want to be more intentional and really, and I like that word intentional about reaching out.
Mhm.
And it's not as much like I love bringing new people into my world and into my circle. And it's really actually it's finding place we finding the place for anyone who's new, and also to really incorporate better touch points with
Mhm.
those who are already there.
Mm.
And I want to and I want to play around to figure out what exactly does that look like? Yeah, that's what I really, and to figure out what stepping out of my comfort zone means or looks like, because I'm very comfortable in my comfort zone. And
Aren't we all?
exactly. And I don't know, actually, I think that may be another certification of some sort. Oh my God.
You just read my mind. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I'll give you step out of your comfort zone. What certification program are you signing up for next? Because I know there's one in the hopper.
So interestingly enough, it has to do with physical stretching,
Oh, cool.
which is something that,
Personally helps me so much, you guys. I'm so tight, like right here. I
oh my
can't.
God. Yes. So I'm playing around with that. Yeah, maybe, that will, yeah. So we'll wait and see exactly. But somehow I think that may be, it's like also, it is acknowledging the fact that, oh, I also think I want to take salsa lessons.
Oh,
I know. Does that sound? I saw this couple dancing on the ship randomly. Like there was music, but it wasn't like they just started, and I was just looking at them absolutely adoringly, and like I want to do that.
yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's like mixing, and I think this is also the year, I think that it's continuously making memories.
Yeah. So you said you didn't have a word. My word is present. Be more
Yeah.
present. But I think it is to create more memories and not be so
Yes.
anxious about the future and not so, this sounds so dark, but so disappointed by the past or so,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Does that make
No,
sense?
completely, completely.
And I
Yes.
think and not so self-deprecating about the past too, about
Yeah.
oh, I wish I'd made better choices here about this, or I wish I had done this different. It really doesn't serve anything. But I think
No.
that really trying to be present in the moment and build more intentional time with my kids. I've been playing a lot of charades, which has just been hilarious, and really building in intentional time with people I care about. You and I've got
Hmm.
this trip coming up, and then I plan on before we leave, you don't know this, before we leave one another, we have the next one kind of on the books, and just really being kind of intentional about
Yeah. Yeah.
building in that time.
Well, I think when I think about, again, going back to thank you for showing up for you, I think you have been this year, actually the past 2 years, an unbelievably incredible role model for showing up,
Hmm.
for showing up even when you don't want to, even when it's a struggle, even when, and I think the key thing, well, okay, here's my little, 25-cent coaching thing. It's like, it's time for you to show up for you. And
Yeah.
that has to be, you show up for everyone else. Showing up for you is so unbelievably important. I had actually someone recently, very recently, just basically tell me I'm selfish.
Oh.
Now, I will say that the
Wait. I'm going to
person,
need names. I'm going to need
no,
addresses. I'm going to
well,
need.
but here's the funny thing is this person is not in my square squad, not in my
Oh,
circle or my
good.
world. So I could care less what they think of me, though it was an interesting thing to take a step back and just do a little bit of self reflection. And I'm like, the fact that I do things because, health comes first.
Mm-hmm.
and also setting an example for the kids.
Yep.
If I do something, I want to set an example because they're at the age where they can start, building lifelong habits and things of that nature. And I also think that this is the year where I really would love to be able to separate self-care from selfish. The assumption is if you take care of yourself, well, you put yourself first, that makes you selfish. Oh gosh, that is so au contraire. That is, and quite frankly, I call bullshit.
Yes, because I do think, and you know what? It is that label that keeps
Mhm.
women,
Yeah.
especially,
Yeah.
actually building in more self-care. It's that,
Yes.
who do you think you are
Yeah.
complex?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are going on that trip? If your
Yeah.
kid's not doing well, or who do you think you are taking time for the gym? That's so much money. People have their own judgments or their own bullshit that they want to spew on
Yeah.
goals
Yeah.
or things. But here's the thing: anybody further along than you
Mhm.
they will never bash what it is you're doing. It's only the people you're leaving behind
Well,
that will want to
and
pick on that.
it's interesting because I actually I think I'm learning to appreciate, because you end up weeding out those people who won't make your square squad.
Yeah.
The people who really don't serve your world or your life. And again, it's all about creating or having that life that you've designed that fits who you are and who you want to be. And the part of the who you are, obviously, are the hats that you wear.
Mhm.
Just because I lump wife, mom, fur mom into family member does not as one solid unit, does not in any way diminish my role in my family.
No.
Yeah. 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 And I only have, I keep realizing my kids go away to college in 8 months.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We do.
And things will change, but I have found there's a positive psychology exercise that is about capturing moments and savoring your moments through photography. Actually, I should probably make that readily available for anyone. Just I can share it. Just drop us a message,
Yep.
or send us a message. But anyway, it's leaning into, and it's creating those habits of capturing moments, because it gives you an opportunity to go back and savor and enjoy and feel joy, and so many positive emotions, which makes you a healthier person, makes you a happier person, makes you a more fulfilled person. All of these things that ultimately are actually scientifically proven to help you live a longer, fuller life, which I think ultimately is, I would hope, what we all want to do. Well, this has been fun.
I agree. I'd love to know from our audience, how are you approaching your goal setting for this year? And what are your goals for this year? And were there any that now are new that were sparked by this conversation?
Ooh, that would be awesome.
I would really love to know that.
And on that note, welcome to 2024.
Woohoo!
Very excited about what this year has to bring. And we will see you again next week.
Yeah.
Yes. And we'll let you know how Crystal did on her 10K run through Disney.
It's gonna go really, really well. I can already tell. All right, guys, until next time. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating.
But only if you liked it. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself.
You can learn more about purposeful podcasting on our website at serendipitousrebel.com.
And if you have topics you'd like to hear about, be sure to submit them on our website or DM us on social media.